Zambia, free men we stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, praise to thee, O one, strong and free.
Can we have a prayer from Mr. Philip Mwanga?
Shall we pray? The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God the Father, the sweet fellowship of the Holy Spirit rest upon the minister and each and every single one of us as we meet this morning to deliberate on matters affecting our nation. I pray for wisdom to rest upon the minister, and I pray for peace to transpire throughout this interactive forum session. In the mighty name of Jesus, I make mention. Amen.
Amen.
Today in our midst we have the Minister of Higher Education, Honorable Professor Nkandu Luo, who is also the lawmaker for Munali constituency. She's making her first appearance at the PF Interactive Forum. At this point in time, I will ask our media director, Mr. Sande Chanda, to give some few remarks and welcome our minister.
Honorable Minister for Higher Education, Professor Nkandu Luo, MP, members of the press who are with us this morning. This is your platform, and we're so glad that you've continued to show presence here. We value cooperation between ourselves as a patriotic front and the media. We understand very well that the media is a mirror of society, and through you we're able to communicate with the people who put us into office, and the people are able to communicate to the Patriotic Front, with the Patriotic Front, again through this robust engagement. Honorable Minister, this is an official platform of your party, the Patriotic Front, sanctioned by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zambia, who is also party president, Mr. Edgar Chabalungu. And on this platform, the party pronounces itself on a number of areas, a number of programs that is undertaking, on its vision for this country, and also just to report back on the progress that we are making. We also take liberty to use this platform to set the record straight, to make rebuttals when we have to make rebuttals, understanding very well that in the contested terrain we are in, we have our colleagues who've specialized in falsehoods, malice, lies, and cheap propaganda, much of it bordering on the lack of ethics. We believe that politics, just like development, should have a semblance of morality, ethics. But we have continued to see that our colleagues, in their quest for power, in their quest to remove the Patriotic Front from power, would go to lengths just to employ any other tactic to destabilize the work of the Patriotic Front, a party that was put into office by the Zambian people. Honorable Minister, before I call on you this morning, allow me to just make mention that the last 1 week has seen some serious reporting or regrettable and negative reporting in certain sections of the media. We want to also take this opportunity to indicate that we are aware that there's fake media in this country. We are aware that there's fake media in this country. There's media that is working in collusion with the opposition, with a clear mandate of unseating the Patriotic Front. And much as we are not going to harass anyone, but we're saying that we're aware of all these maneuvers, we're aware of agendas that are being pushed. And I'm saying this, and please put me on record, that we've seen a very clear pattern of a hate agenda against President Edgar Lungu that is being sponsored by well-known opposition parties in this country. And it's no coincidence that in one breath the UPND will say something and it will be covered by one media outlet, and then their sister media outlet is also going to cover it. This has been there even before President Lungu became president. The same forces that fought him before he became president are at work as we speak. And we are seeing nothing new, and this doesn't take us by surprise. We want to make a clarion call to the people of Zambia, and especially the church in this country, that the church should take a leading role in ensuring that we have guidance, in ensuring that they condemn this acidic, the acidic politics that we are seeing today, toxic politics, politics of hatred, targeted at the head of state. It's also very, very important that the church continues to provide guidance when we see our colleagues plotting in vain, to usurp power. Under the new constitution, even when they pray that some misfortune happens to the president, the sitting president, and God forbid, but if they pray that anything happens and they pray to their gods, and no wonder Zambians have continued to associate some of these political parties to dark forces, because you can't be bent on, wishing sitting head of state ill, let him get ill. No, this is happening to him, and we know that in the end, the picture that they have is that one day Zambians should wake up and there's no president, and the Zambian people must not allow this kind of politics to continue to thrive. Now, under the new constitution, even if that was to happen, and God forbid, we are not going to have any election until 2021. We have a vice president who step in. If they pray the same for the vice president and their prayers succeed, cabinet will sit and someone else will move in there until 2021. So these are plots in vain, and we are saying to the Zambian people that condemn this kind of politics. Honorable Minister, this is your platform. I thought I'd just make mention of that because I think it's very, very serious. And our colleagues in the media who are here, please help to inform the general public correctly, but with a lot of responsibility, because the pen that you carry can build or destroy. So let me take this opportunity to invite Honorable Minister. The Minister will take the liberty to deliver her keynote address. She'll touch on areas that I should want to touch on this morning, and the media will take the liberty to ask her questions after her presentation. I call on you. You may, please, you can do your presentation.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much, Mr. Chanda, our media director, and David, and ladies and gentlemen, and members of the press. Let me thank our own party, through the media director, for according me this opportunity this morning to come and discuss the ministry that I've been tasked by His Excellency, the President of this Republic, to head for now, and that's the Ministry of Higher Education. And before I do that, for the benefit of those who may not know me and probably know my past, I'll just take a few minutes to introduce myself. I'm Professor Nkandu Luo, and by profession and rank in this country, I'm a professor of microbiology and immunology, and I worked for many years for the University Teaching Hospital and headed the Department of Pathology and Microbiology, and taught for the School of Medicine. In fact, the big brother to your media director was once my student, who is now our Member of Parliament for Banamkubwa and the current Minister of Health. There's about 4 members of Parliament who are my former students at medical school. And I was one of the 4 doctors that identified the first case of HIV. And for benefit of those of you who are very young, most of the entire HIV/AIDS response in this country, I was the architect of it, in setting up the first ever response to the HIV/AIDS epidemic the actually setting up of the National Blood Transfusion Services for this country to ensure that the blood was safe in the country, the setting up of the testing and counseling services for the country, the setting up of the prevention of mother-to-child transmission, and the infectious disease control program that actually responded to the epidemic throughout the country. And in the process, I realized that we're seeing a lot of cancers. So the cancer hospital you see today, I was actually the architect and raised the first ever money to set up that cancer center. And in my political career in 1996, I was invited by President Chiluba to stand as Member of Parliament for Mandevu, which I won overwhelmingly, and I was appointed into government. I served for about a year as Deputy Minister of Health, then I was elevated to full Cabinet Minister. After 2 years of service as a full Cabinet Health Minister, I was taken to the Ministry of Communications and Transport. Those of you who are older will remember that we have very aggressive health reforms in this country that saw the development of a health policy for the first time and decentralization of the health services in the country. And when I was at the Ministry of Communications and Transport, what people remember me for was organizing transports. They used to call them the Luo Blue. And I took 10 years off the political career, went back into my profession. And in 2011, I was invited by President Sata to stand for Mnali. And I won the Mnali seat. And I'm serving as a Member of Parliament for Mnali for the second time. And Mnali has seen quite a lot of development under my tenure of office. Those who visit Chainda will now testify for the first time that Chainda has a state-of-the-art maternity wing, and that was built by the Member of Parliament. Chainda now has reticulated water. The silver tanks are seen above the houses of Chainda, and those were done by me as Member of Parliament. We never had a school at Chainama where they do look after children living with disabilities. We were able to provide classroom blocks for children and equipped them living with disabilities. So children are now undertaking good learning lessons there. We had no police station in Chadley and Chamba Valley. We put up again a state-of-the-art police post there. If you go to Kaunda Square today, you find maybe the best market in Lusaka at the moment, which were built by the Member of Parliament. So there's been a lot that we have done, and the road network is also improving, and so on and so on. At the moment, we are starting to build the police station from Tendere, because the one that is there has collapsed. So those are the few things that I can refer to that have happened during my tenure of office as Member of Parliament. Because many times, because of what the Director for Media has said, people tend to focus on negativity, and some of us are maligned big time. But the things I've mentioned as media, you can go there and see for yourself, and when you go and take pictures, you can compare, for example, the maternity wing with other maternity wings. That will give you an impression of what I'm talking about. So briefly, that is the introduction. But coming to the ministry that I've been tasked to head, the ministry is quite huge, and maybe a lot of people don't even know what we do there, because there's more focus on the University of Zambia, and I'll come and comment on that later. But that ministry has first and foremost the responsibility to look after the promotion of science and technology in this country. And we are putting a very high premium on that, because all countries that have developed in the world are countries that have driven their agenda through science and technology. We are also responsible for innovation and entrepreneurship and linking the innovation to industry. And I'll come and comment on that a little bit later on how this is done. My ministry is also responsible for skills training in the country. And that is an area, again, where as a ministry and as PF, we are putting a very high premium. And the reasons are very simple. And I want to give a comparison with Zimbabwe. At the time, Zimbabwe was at their lowest in terms of sanctions and international ridicule. Zimbabwe stood Why? Because many years ago, they had put a premium and investment in skills training. And it was not a matter of either or. If I don't go to university, then I'll go to a college. It was actually a choice that children made from school. It was a pathway. If you knew you had the gift of the voice, you chose to be a musician and made your career. And therefore, Zimbabwe trained a lot of skilled manpower, such as bricklayers, welders, roofers, refrigerators. And when Zimbabwe was at their lowest, all of us know that they came into Zambia and we started hiring them to be building our houses and roofing our houses and plumbing. What that does is that when you pay them, they go and change the money in dollars. They take it back to the country. So basically, Zambia was supporting Zimbabwe and building the Zimbabwean economy. And the current thinking of the Patriotic Front is that we need to put a high premium on skills development. It's not even either or. It is a pathway to career development. And that's one of my mandates as Minister of Higher Education. And the third mandate is obviously to promote university education. Now, what I think I need to start with is first of all talk about the positives, and then I'll come and comment on some of the negatives that are found even in the media houses. As a government, when I say we have put a premium on skills training, it's not rhetoric. We then looked at how do we structure this and how do we test the system that it will work in Zambia. Today, if you go to some of our colleges, we are having a two-tier system. If you went to Solwezi Trade School today, within the Solwezi Trade School, we also have a secondary school. And the children are exposed to bricklaying, they're exposed to electrical training, they're exposed to welding, they're exposed to plumbing very early on in their lives. And when they see that this is something they would like to be in life, their pathway will be that of looking at taking that route in terms of their career. And those that feel they should end up in university, they then end up in university. So within the same grounds, you have these two institutions. And this is working, not only for career pathway, but also being able to sort out little things. Many a time, if you have just a fuse blow up in your kettle, you will be going to buy something, a new plug, because you don't know how to sort just that simple thing. So these kids we're exposing to this kind of skills are able to sort out these things within their homes. So you are actually dealing with what you call troubleshooting within the home, but also we can develop it in some of these our children as a career. And we have tested this, and it is working. So what is going to happen in the future, you will soon see that some of our secondary schools will be given extra skills which will be marked even with a degree or a diploma associated with it. And we are going to now start selecting, for example, David Kaunda Secondary School may decide that they would like in their school to have, for example, technical drawing as one of the career path for our students. So some of those, when they finish their O-levels, they'll be able to remain in that secondary school for another 2 years and they get a diploma. Or Kablonga girls may decide we are going to take theater as our curriculum and we give them 2 years. So some of the students who think they have the gift of theater, acting, filming, they'll remain in that school for another 2 years and get a diploma in theater and so on. And even in journalism, some of the schools will give them an extra 2 years. So you don't need to be going to apply to Evelyn Horn College and whatever. We will have secondary schools that are now going to support the colleges that we have because they're not adequate, so that we can start churning out of our schools many more people with diplomas And later on, we may even add degree programs, and so that some of these schools, and it will be easy for them, some of those which will develop very well, to be transformed into degree courses. So that is how we're going to work with the issue of skills. And we as a country have also gone forward to say, how do we finance this? Do we have a budget that will support this kind of training? And we did an intra inspection as a ministry. And we said, when we train in our colleges, our staff, when they qualify, they go to work in industry, for example. Industry does not contribute a penny to that training. So we are basically training for the profit makers. So how do they give back? So we have introduced what we call the Human Resource Skills Development Levy, where we levy the private sector to contribute 0.05% of their wage bill to the Ministry of Higher Education through the Ministry of Finance to finance the skills training that I'm talking about. And I think those of you who attended one of my press briefings, for the first time, were able to support in all our skills centers across the country in the order of over 4,700 students with scholarships, because we have identified 4 pillars. One is now to supporting our students in skills with scholarships. 2 is to build infrastructure, and we'll soon be rolling out infrastructure development to some of the remotest parts of Zambia, such as Chilubi Island, Kaputa, so that those children don't come to Lusaka for training. They can remain within those districts and be trained. And we'll roll them out to the rest of the country. On the instruction by His Excellency the President, on one of his address to Parliament, he said, I must ensure that I build skills centers throughout the country. And that is the best way we are going to build skills centers, by giving additional facilities to some of our reputable secondary schools. I'm not saying we'll do them in everyone. It is reputable secondary schools where even the quality of students that are passing are able to be tested to say this school indeed is of quality. So the third pillar is that of ensuring that for some of the short courses, there may be people who are already there and they just want to come and do short 3 months training, 6 months training. We want to be able, at the time of graduation, for them to go with some equipment. Especially the young people, they are saying, how do we start? We are inviting the young people, especially those that keep talking, even on the online media. You know, youths are not being attended to. We are not getting contracts. You have to get the skill. So we are inviting those kind of young people to the table so that we put them in our different institutions, 3 months, 6 months, because they're already set up. When they graduate, they go with some kind of equipment in whatever they've done. If they've done, let's say, carpentry and joinery, they can actually go out there immediately and set themselves up and start doing the carpentry and start earning money and getting the contracts that everybody is so much asking for, because they have the skill to be able to deliver quality tables or chairs or whatever furniture they are going to do. So that's the skills training. In the area of science and technology, we have just launched what we are calling the Science Academy. This is a group of scientists in the country, both young and old, with different levels of experience, that will be advising government on issues of science and technology in this country. And there was a big launch, and a lot of scientists are signing up from the medical field or health field, from engineering, from science, clear science, from agriculture. And these scientists are going to be the core to advising government on science. That's one thing. Secondly, we are redefining the National Institute of Scientific Research. And tied to that is also the introduction of the Nuclear Center, because this is critical for the development, especially of medicine and agriculture in this country. There's been a hullabaloo in this country over the establishment of the nuclear science. But I want to bring you to the table so that you understand. Many of us, when we are sick and we get into hospital, if, for example, the doctor just talks to you, you come back and say, there's nothing they did for me, because you know, in fact, I'm having chest pains. They didn't take me for x-ray. What do you think x-ray works on? What is the principle of an x-ray? The principle of an x-ray is actually radiation. Now, what we use to be able to do those x-ray, we import, and it's expensive. Some of you who have headaches, you say, you know, I was hoping they did a CT scan. What do you think a CT scan is? That is based on nuclear science. Now we have a lot of our friends and colleagues and relatives who are suffering from cancer. And you hear them, oh, they're on chemotherapy, or they're on radiotherapy. What do you think radiotherapy is? And what do you understand by the treatment of cancer? All that is based on nuclear science, full stop. And the isotopes that we use, we import them. So we are saying as a ministry, instead of importing those people, because we have the critical mass, we have the brains, why should we continue importing? Why don't we set up our own scientific center where all this will be done? So this is the simple introduction of a nuclear science center. We are also talking about, oh, you know me, I'm going to grow big in cassava because I've got this seed that ripens in 1 year. What do you think is working there? It's nuclear science that is working there. So we are going to set up this center. We are very advanced. As I'm talking to you now, we have our teams in Siavonga agreeing on certain principles. And we've been sending students for training. Even this year, I've got scholarships up to 30 students who would like to go and be nuclear scientists, nuclear physicists, nuclear chemists, to travel to Russia to go and study. And I invite those of us who feel great to be scientists of international repute to apply, so that we can send them after evaluation to go and train in the different spheres of nuclear science. So I hope that puts to rest some of the discussion that has been on the media regarding the nuclear science. And I think difficult areas like this, for the press, if you don't understand them, there's merit in coming to the ministry and say, can we sit? Minister would like to understand these things. And then I'll bring my panel of experts to come and explain to you what this whole nuclear science is all about. But I can tell you as a minister, and I know the head of state is very excited about being one of the first countries on this continent to own a nuclear research center, which is, you know, of international repute. So that's the area of science and the way we are moving into science. But we are also navigating into increasing research in science. Because, colleagues, you don't make policy decisions based on what they did in the US or the UK and you expect it to stand the test of time. You have to do your own research in the country. We have a lot of diseases in this country that we cannot understand. We do not understand many of the causes of the different cancers we are seeing. In the classroom, we're told cancer takes 20 years to manifest. Now we are seeing very young kids with cancer. So we need to do our own research. What is it that is in our environment that is causing this? Is it our food? Is it our lifestyles and things? So my ministry is mandated to ensure that we step up the research agenda of this country. And to this effect, in our budget, we always have a strategic research fund, which now, under the Patriotic Front government, is increasing every year. And also, I'm encouraging my technocrats in the different institutions of higher learning to go back, take 10 steps back, and run the institutions the way they should be run. A university is not a place for business. What is happening in Zambia at the moment is that anybody who gets up in the morning and says, I'm going to set up a university, even they get a house, before you know it, there is something written, this is the university so-so, of a house. It doesn't happen like that. A university has parameters. First and foremost, it must have the infrastructure to support it to be called a university. A house cannot be a university. Secondly, a university must have the right qualified staff to teach. There was a hullabaloo about Nkwame Nkrumah. Remember, Nkwame Nkrumah was a teaching college. And somebody with a diploma can go and teach teachers. A university is for teaching people with degrees. And also, the lowest you get in a university is a diploma. So the person who teaches in a university, the minimum they should have is a first degree if they are going to teach diploma holders. A first degree holder cannot teach another degree holder. For anybody to teach somebody with a degree, they must have a minimum of a master's. And for somebody to take on a master's student, they must have a minimum of a PhD. And for somebody to take on a PhD student, the minimum is a professorship, full stop. And these are international standards. We cannot have Zambian standards. And this is why we are recruiting appropriate staff to teach in Nkwame Nkrumah University. Those who are qualified will obviously be taken, but those who do not have what it takes will be handed back to the Ministry of General Education. This discussion that we have in the country, no, you know, a university, this one is poor. Universities are not run like that. They are run on particular standards. That's why they are graded internationally. If you recall some time back, University of Zambia was number 10 in Africa. Today it's number 200 and something. What has caused this? You, the press, first and foremost. You have caused this. Yes, and I'm going to explain. A university, colleagues, is not a place you joke with. And it's not a place that you start sending things, whether online, social media, that are not true. A university is something that all of us must rise to the occasion and support. First, understand it and support it. When you hear there is a riot, you even stop what you're doing to go and start covering riot at University of Zambia. It's being read internationally, and they're downgrading that university. Full stop. It's a place which you should nest like an egg. When Professor Luo is going to talk and start structuring things properly, there's no media. No, the media needs transport. The media, where do you get transport when there's a riot? To go and start covering a riot. So we have established what we call the Higher Education Authority. The mandate for the Higher Education Authority is to clean up and define what can be called a university. The university, first of all, must have a university council. The university must have a chancellor who is the head of that institution. A university must have a senate, and it's the senate which comprises of academicians that set the curriculum and the agenda for the training and the dates for opening and closing the exams. This is the group that discusses all that. The university must have schools, and the schools must be headed by deans. The function of the dean is to develop that school. Development how? By having appropriate human resource in that particular school. And the dean depends on heads of departments. And the head of department develops the critical mass in that particular field of study. Like, for example, I used to be head of pathology and microbiology. at the University Teaching Hospital. My mandate was to develop the critical human resource in pathology, histopathology, hematology, microbiology, parasitology, chemical pathology, and so on and so on. It was my mandate. It was not the mandate of the Vice Chancellor. And that's how I reported to my Dean to say, Dean, this is what I'm doing. And my mandate was also to raise money for that to happen. Otherwise, I'm not fit to be head of department. Not one day did I write to the Minister of Education to say, Minister, I need money to run the Department of Pathology. Not one day. I raised all the money. I sent the Dr. Kasolos of today, who is now one of the top advisors of the Director General of WHO in Brazzaville. He was raised in my department. The current Dean of the School of Medicine now, Professor Kaile, was one of the people that I raised money and sent him to England to go and study, and so on and so on. That's how a university works. A university does not work by the staff saying they don't want the Vice Chancellor because the Vice Chancellor is traveling too much. That is the function of the Vice Chancellor. Because the Vice Chancellor must travel all over the world and create partnerships for that university. You cannot create partnerships sitting in your office. You have to go all out. You must negotiate. You must invite other people to partner with you. Today, as I see today, thanks to the Vice Chancellor of the Copperbelt University, Zambia is going to be the regional center to train all the people in SADC countries who are going to study in Russia, so the Russian language will be run by the University of the Copperbelt, because the Vice Chancellor went out and made those negotiations. The development of a school is the function of the dean. Today, they don't want the Vice Chancellor because the Vice Chancellor, it said that the School of Graduate Studies is going down. What I would have expected is, what do we do with the Dean of Graduate Studies? Because this school is not growing. Because that is the function of the Dean of Graduate Studies, to grow that school, to go all out and create even forums like this to start talking about the beauty of a graduate school. And what are you offering in that graduate school? What are the master's degree courses you are offering? What are the PhD courses you are offering? Even go out into the region and start inviting people from Zimbabwe, from Botswana, and say, come to Zambia and join our graduate school. It's not the function of the Vice Chancellor. The distance learning school is not the function of the Vice Chancellor. It's the function of the Dean for distance learning. They're supposed to be coming even to come and entice all of you to go and do distance learning. If you have a diploma in journalism, they come to you and say, we are offering courses, and show the attraction of those courses. What is the difference between going to get that degree from the University of Zambia as opposed to the Copperbelt University? That is the function of the dean. That's the way university works. So what we are trying to do in Zambia and start recreating our own university is not done, because it's standard and that's the way it is. And that is my mandate as Minister of Higher Education, to go and recreate the University of Zambia to enjoy their old glory when they were number 10 in Africa. And we should strive to be number 1. And to be number 1 or number 2 or whatever will require appropriate human resource. And therefore, at the moment, we are saying, whatever scholarships we get in the ministry, I don't want to see any of them being advertised in the Daily Mail. They must be given to the institutions of higher learning, University of Zambia, Copperbelt University, Mulungushi, because that's where the critical mass that requires to go for PhD to go. If I advertise in the Daily Mail, somebody comes from the Bank of Zambia, they go and get their PhD, where would they go back? Go back to Bank of Zambia. So I'm not going to train for Bank of Zambia. I want to train, first and foremost, for the institutions that I'm responsible for, so that I get enough PhDs in the universities. At the moment, the reason why we have problems in the institutions is because the ratio is that we have more master's degrees than PhDs. A university must always have more PhDs. And a university must have more professors, and we don't have enough professors in this country. And that's why I'm pushing for research. And I'm saying we will stop only employing people for academic, but employ researchers in the institutions so that we galvanize research and people start publishing. You cannot be a professor if you have not published as first author and an authority. I became a professor because I'm an authority on issues to do with HIV. And if you look at my publications, you cannot even count them. You must contribute to books. If not writing a whole book yourself, you must contribute chapters. And we need to ignite our institutions of higher learning to that level, where our staff stop running from UNZA to UNILAS to come and teach, from UNZA to Open University to go and teach. They must remain within university, and when they finish teaching, they are on the bench doing research. If they are historians, they are in the countryside writing the history. Most of you seated here may not even know how independence of Zambia came about, other than seeing Dr. Kaunda. Somebody was telling me a very sad story where when they wanted to celebrate the school Kenneth Kaunda, somebody got up, "You fired my father." I mean, firing your father compared to the struggle that that man went through with his colleagues to give us independence is not even a thing for discussion. This is why we have no value systems, because we don't know, because our historians are not writing. Our historians must write the history of this country. Our historians must write the artifacts that are so important in this country. And then we give those to the Ministry of Tourism to start marketing them internationally. That's who we are as universities. We are the critical mass of this country. This is why in France, when they refer to university staff, lecturers, they don't simply call them academics. They call them le crème de crème, the cream of creams. That's what the people that are sitting at the University of Zambia are. But because you are now dancing with them, oh, do something, oh, press conference. How do you entertain a press conference of staff about the hostels and why university is not opening, when you, after that press conference, should have gone to the hostels? Go and take pictures and see what the sanitation looks like. And you can go back to them and say, but you are lecturers here. You mean you don't know that the toilets have been brought to high standards now? So, you know, I think that I love this platform because I want you as press to help us and not to destroy. And whatever attempt we're making as a patriotic front to correct the status quo, you need to journey with us and see that you, if not yourself, your son or your daughter will want to benefit from the University of Zambia, or you want to benefit from Copperbelt University or Mlungushi University. If you destroy it, you are basically destroying yourselves. Time is now for us to correct our institutions and bring them to the level that we want to bring them, so that they play that role that they are supposed to play. Otherwise, if you feel the university pays you too little, you can actually move out and go to Bank of Zambia or Standard Bank, wherever where they pay. Universities are not for making money. Let me tell you this. Universities, we make our money by the name that you create for yourself. And you feel proud of that. At least I feel proud of that. Even now as a minister, there are certain people who fly into this country and they've been told, when you arrive in Zambia, look for Professor Luo. I don't have any money, but I have a name that is celebrated internationally. And you may bash me here the way you want, but one thing you'll not take away from me, I'm celebrated worldwide because of my stint at the university. That's what an academician is. And that's what, when you say this is an academic, that's what it means. So help me to build the University of Zambia, help me to build Copperbelt University, help me to build Mulungushi and all these other universities to the standards and levels that we want it to be. This thing of writing things that don't exist is not going to help us. You may be happy now because you are getting a salary, but you will regret it tomorrow when you have no university worthy being called a university to send your children to or your grandchildren to. So that is not a place for joking and playing around with. You can play with whatever you want to play, but stay away from the universities until we have institutions that are robust and are able to give back in terms of the research results that are coming out of there to inform us as government to develop policies so that they are able to train our children and our children's children to international standards so that when they want to go and do a master's and a PhD, it's not difficult for them. We need to create an environment at the university where the students have a good learning environment and not an environment where they are looking left and right. That's what it is. So that is one of my other mandates as Minister of Higher Education. And let me now start talking about my statutory bodies. I have a statutory board called the Remote Sensing. This is a body that today we should by now be counting even all the trees that we have in this country. Just with the software, you can know in which part of Zambia there is rosewood, where there is mukula, there is what. And very soon, we shall be launching our ground receiving equipment in Chibombo to start seeing the benefits of the remote sensing. Again, in that place, we are looking for young people who have done geography that we can send out for training to be able to come and operate that equipment. And some of the scholarships that are running at the moment are actually addressing people like that who have finished their degrees in geography, who would like to advance themselves. We have the National Institute for Industrial Research, which I've already talked about, which we are now linking also to the Nuclear Center. But research is not supposed to just gather dust in the shelves. Today we are all using computers. This is because the person who discovered computers did not keep that knowledge to himself. They took it to industry to create the computers that we have. So some of the research that is being done or is supposed to be done in that institution is supposed to be taken to industry and popularized. Some years back when there was robust research in that center, people may remember the Masuku wine, where people were trying to make wine from our traditional fruits. And that is the level where I would like to bring that institution back to, so that they are able to do a lot more robust research that can link to industry and so on. The things that when you go to watch the Jets Fair from secondary school children, those things just die. But they are supposed to move from that secondary school into the Institute of Industrial Research, built up even more, and then given to industry. So that is the role that the National Council for Industrial Research does. And how do they do this? They do it through another statutory body that is called the National Business and Technology Council. So the National Business and Technology Council takes this research or whatever has been built up to take it to industry now. So that is the conduit to industry. And I must say that apart from the fact that we have not been getting much out of some of the institutions because we are revamping them and putting them back to where they should be, people have not been sitting idle. You will be amazed that women who cannot even speak English in Mufumbwe and Kasempa have actually developed an alternative to cutting down our trees by using agricultural waste and cassava powder. And they've produced briquettes that burn for 8 hours. And at the moment, the Business and Technology Council, also in partnership with teams in the USA, we are now popularizing that and taking them to industry. So that is some of the other work that the Business and Technology Council is working on. And my team just came back. Even these women who don't speak English, We made sure we sent them to the US, and somebody was translating for them to share this. So what they do is they take agricultural waste, they burn it and pound it into powder. They mix it with cassava powder, and cassava powder acts as a binder. And then they start cutting them into briquettes. And if this technology gets popularized, sooner than later, we are going to deal with deforestation, because we don't need to go and cut a tree that is worth so much money. You cut it down just to make 60 kwacha out of it. But it will also be cleaning our environment, because you'll be taking up agricultural waste. But it will also promote farming, so that some of you who want to farm, you can go and farm and produce cassava big time, because there will be a market for it where it can be used. So it's actually a cycle of how it works. And I want to tell you that you shouldn't wait until you're old like me. Now I'm retiring, I'm going to farm. You can't. Farming is actually a business, and you can be rich from farming. So these are some of the activities we are doing in my ministry. So if you like, I'm the link between all the ministries in this country. Agriculture cannot flourish without the Ministry of Higher Education. Energy cannot flourish without the Ministry of Higher Education. Trade and industry cannot flourish. All the industrialization we're talking about, I need to create the critical mass to go and work in all the centers we're talking about in terms of industrialization. So we are a very important ministry, and we are the neck of government. Because when we turn and provide the human resource that is required, the critical thinkers who we have put together in our institutions of higher learning like universities, they think critically for the way in which government should go. When you cover a lecturer who is criticizing, you know, this government has not done anything, ask them, why are you at the university? If you are an economist, why have you not advised government? Because they're the ones who are supposed to analyze, critically analyze the economic situation and say, we have analyzed, this is what we have found, and this is the way you should go. That is what universities are for. Apart from training the students, they are the analysts, they are the critical thinkers. So you need to be smart as even journalists to ask the critical questions, so that anybody who is politicizing the university, you can remind them what their functions are at the university. So I'll rest here and allow you to ask me questions of maybe even some of the things that I've not covered. But I want to conclude by saying you will gain absolutely nothing by reporting lies, because the truth will always set somebody free. And how do you feel when you report a lie? The other day I was reading an apology to me by, is it the Diggers or whoever they are called, who even wrote, Professor Luo came in a government car, but when she was leaving, she was whisked away in a private car. What did you achieve? Nothing. Here is Professor Luo. Yeah. And, you know, the apology was well taken, but, you know, you are destroying the entire fabric of this country. And in journalism, incidentally, you were trained by one of the institutions of higher learning. And what you're doing tells the story of the issues I'm talking about here. When you don't have quality education, you don't have the quality trainers, you end up with what we're seeing in Zambia, which is a pity. And my role is to correct that, so that in another 2 years, the journalists will be reporting responsibly. And let me tell you, to destroy a person has very long effects and impact. If you speak to doctors who are trained in psychology, you are as good as killing that person, because it has a long-term effect on their brains. And not every one of us is strong to take the kind of bashing that you give us. Other people will not take it. Some of us will take it. And for me, you bash me as much as you want. I'm Professor Nkandu Luo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that splendid presentation. I'm sure all of us, my colleagues, you agree we've been edified and educated on certain things that we might have not known about. As always, we'll take 3 questions at a time. Then we'll allow the minister to give her position. Then continue that way. So take one from here, then him, then you can go ahead. So you tell us your name and the institution that you are representing, and go on with your question.
My name is Hector Simfukwe. I'm from ZNBC. I've got 2 questions. The first one is I want an update on the construction of new universities with the focus on the King Lewanika and the Frederick University. What is the update? Then my second question, I wanted to find out from the minister whether there are plans to help every non-college start offering degrees, especially in programs that are only offered there, like music. I think even the geography, there are very few universities that are offering that program. Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable. My name is James Kunda from Times of Zambia. I wanted to find out from you to what extent the government measures the proliferation of public universities by the opposition with the aim of discrediting the president and the government of the day. Thank you.
Proliferation of what?
Public universities, or rather infiltration of public universities by the opposition.
Okay.
Yes.
You say the proliferation, so it's infiltration. Yeah.
Infiltration, that's right.
Yeah, my name is Francis Mangela. I have one question and one clarification. Yeah, you spoke of introducing some kind of skills development in primary and secondary education, whereby when the students finish the courses, then they will be seen the area where they're interested, then they will be given 2 years in which they needed to finish up those courses and given some kind of a credential and some kind of tools. So I need some kind of clarification on that one. So it seems like this somewhere. Then the other issue has to do with the strikes and riots in universities. I remember at one time, sometime in 1986, I spoke to the president who said the schools are supposed to clean their environment and they are not supposed to riot because the schools are dirty. He jokingly said, during our days when we were at schools, we could be in the toilet and drop a sweet and we could pick it and eat it, simply because the school is clean. But today we see universities rioting because the environment is dirty. What do you think is causing those riots?
Too many questions, so we will take the third one later. Now, the update on the construction of new universities. I think between 25th and 5th of May, the president will be launching the FTJ University. And at the moment, we have handed over the site to the constructors, and they are on site right now. The reason why we only launch it a month later is because the president told me that he doesn't want to just go and put a billboard. He wants to find people working on site, and I agree with him. So that when he is actually putting the stone, he will probably even find the slabs done at that particular institution. FTJ, I've given them 18 months to 30 months to finish the work. They are not going to go beyond that. It's signed and agreed. The King Lewanika University is on course at the moment. It is one of the universities that they started constructing a few, I think we're into the 2nd year now of construction. and it's on course. In addition, we will be constructing another site that we have handed over to the contractor, the university in Kasama, and the president will be launching it about the last week of May. It's a public university. All these I'm talking about are public universities. And it will be launched the last week of May. The reason is that we are opening a totally new area to the university. In fact, there were people who felt that this university should have been in Kasama town. But one thing I didn't discuss with you is that when our universities, the levels to which we want to bring them, and our institutions of higher learning, I'm looking forward to a time when the president will start declaring some of the towns, university towns. So this university in Northern Province is going to be in a place called Ntumpa. It is, you go off the road between Mpika and Kasama, or between Luwingu and Kasama. It's a totally new area, but there is a beautiful secondary school there, and we think we should put the university there, and therefore we are constructing a good road which will be able to hold the big trucks that will be transporting the materials. And as those of you who have an opportunity to be at the launch will agree with me how beautiful that place looks, and hopefully the president will declare it a university town, like you have Cambridge and Oxford in the UK. Then we are at the moment advertising Kabompo University College of Mathematics and English. This is again in the quest to promote science in this country. We are having universities that will just focus on science and technology, and Kabompo will be such a university. And we have also advertised Nalolo College of Science and Technology, also to focus on that. In addition, we have Mukuba University in Kitwe. We have also advertised the Katete. So those are the new upcoming universities that are coming. The last three are at advancement stage for designing them, so that we award contracts. The degrees at Evelyn Horn College. I think I went to town to tell you the requirements of an institution to be called a university. It's not about just saying we need a university at Evelyn Horn College. Evelyn Horn College has to be redefined. It must have the critical mass to teach in that institution that befits a university. So we need to have professors there. You cannot call an institution a university if there's no professor. And for what I know, we have no professor at Evelyn College. So when we start getting people of that caliber, and we start attracting a lot more, and PhDs, then we can be looking at Evelyn College to be transitioning from what it is to a university. But it's something that we are watching very closely as a ministry. But let me also take advantage of this to say that the new universities that we are opening, they are also going to have additional facilities that have not happened before. For example, the FTJ will have a faculty on sport. A lot of our sportsmen and women in this country, they may get awards, they may get medals, but they don't have a CV to carry them. So when they sit with their colleagues are icons, but when they say, please submit your CVs, they've got a good CV to back them. So that's why we're introducing a faculty of sports, both at the FTJ and the Kasama University. And with the designs that we're getting for these other new universities, some of them will put theater there as a faculty, and some of them we shall put music as a faculty. So as we are opening to new institutions, we are taking care of your concerns of the question that you asked on Evelyn Horn College. And I think it's easier to introduce that, because as they are building, we'll make sure that we send people for training who come back and teach with the appropriate qualifications. Because having a good voice and singing in St. Ignatius Church cannot make me a teacher in a university. So the third question is the issue of the infiltration of opposition in public universities. This is a very sad development that has happened in our universities. And those of you who were there when we were launching the strategic plan, I made reference to the fact that there are times I wake up and say, is this the same university I taught at? Because we didn't have those kind of things. But we are watching very carefully and trying to find a recipe as to how to remove this infiltration out of our universities. And you can even tell when there is a dispute, a labor dispute. A labor dispute, you come to the table and sit and say, this is what we are aggrieved about, and so on. You just can't be going to Radio Phoenix, oh, Professor Luo is not seeing us. She has to see us. How does Professor Luo see you? It's a labor dispute. The labor dispute must be handled by the Minister of Labor. Secondly, if you have a dispute, you don't go to the minister straight. You table your grievances to the University Council. So Professor Luo seeing the aggrieved lecturers before their issues are tabled to the council, and the council has deliberated. Their issues are tabled to the chancellor of the university, and the chancellor has deliberated. I will be undermining the very structures that I have put in place if I start allowing people to jump from the classroom to speak to me. I run a very open door policy. If somebody wants to come to me to talk to me about some good ideas that they would like to bring to the university, I'm quite open. But if somebody is going to table their grievances, we have channels of tabling grievances. And this is because of the infiltration that has taken place in our institutions, that they don't even have confidence in the people that we are appointing, because they think they are the Lord Almighty. And I think we need to stop that. And we need to be able to make our universities and not institutions for political battles. So I hear you, and we are working very hard to see how we can address this problem. And this problem is there. And it's a very serious problem. The skills development issue, what I said is that we need to accelerate the training. And one way of accelerating the training is to borrow the training systems that is happening in other countries, where you are not building skills centers from the scratch, but making them part of the learning from secondary school as a career path. And in fact, this was here before in Zambia, incidentally. For those of you who are older, but maybe because most of you are young, David Kaunda used to be such a school. It was a technical college. So those who were interested in becoming architects remained at David Kaunda for another 2 years and got a diploma in technical drawing. So when they went to the university to now get a degree, they went and just did their few years to become architects. And in Zimbabwe, that is the system you have. If you go to Chinoi, because it's an agricultural area, most of their secondary schools have 2 extra years for those who want to become farmers. So at the end of Form 5, they remain in the school because they are not interested in going to be academicians or engineers. They want to be farmers. So they get a diploma in farming. They do their practicals within Chinoi because there are big farms there. So this is something that we'd like to do here, for example, the schools that are in Kush. And that will interest a lot of people to become farmers at a young age, not to wait until they are retiring like me, and just a few years to be enjoying my holidays and everything, I say I'm going to farm. What farming am I going to do? So we want people to be looking at farming as a career, farming as a business, and get rich from farming. And then the strikes at the universities. This strike at the university is tied to the issue of infiltration. The strikes don't happen on their own. And let me tell you what our experience with Nkrumah taught us, which I've learned, and very sadly too. When I was MP for Munali, and not Minister of Higher Education, but Minister of other ministries, every time I went to visit the students who had been arrested in the cells, we used to find people who are not university students. And then I would ask them, but what are you doing here? He says, no, me, I was just coming from church and trespassing, then I found myself caught up. But that was not the truth. What we learned from our recent activities at Nkrumah is that the people that have infiltrated our institutions, they know the students they work with. When they organize them, then they go to the compounds to hire. So the people that you see rioting are not students. They are actually hired crowds. So recently there was an arrangement that was brewing at Nkrumah. Fortunately, some of the students are policemen, so they brought it to my attention. And the trucks were already in Makululu, in Kabwe, picking up the people who were to come and riot. So these strikes and whatever and riots are things that we're understanding now. And this way, it will be easy for us to deal with them. And as I said, even yourselves, when you go there, you just go to cover, hey, riot at Mbati. You didn't even know what was going on. It has taken a lot of us navigating to actually understand what goes in our institutions. And I want to say it's very sad. And I hope after this forum, you as journalists will help us and stop covering them. Even if they bring news, even Prime TV and Movie TV should refrain from what they do. Because these are the two institutions that are very notorious, and they must. And they must. Because your children will not, even your children will go there, isn't it? They will not say because you work for the must or for Prime TV or Movie TV, your children can't go there. So you are actually destroying an institution. That is a place where they should be. We should all converge. Whether you are UPND or you are a PF or you are what, we should converge and protect those institutions. And even you as journalists, you must converge. Whether you are being paid by Prime TV or Movie TV or must, you converge because that's where your children will go. And let me even tell you that the people who organize those things, their children are not even going to school there. Their children are abroad. And a good leader cannot come and organize those kind of things, knowing very well that their children are studying in the UK or Australia or the US. Now, the last thing about cleanliness, and I'm very glad that you have asked me that question. I took tours of the hostels at the time of the cholera epidemic, after we got a report that we cannot open any of these institutions until they are brought to speed. What I saw, and I want to repeat this because I said it many times before the press, but since there are so many media houses here, I want to say this. I have never seen the kind of dirt that I found in our hostels. And I've said to the students, when I was a student myself, and I was given a room, I pride in that room. I looked for the best things in my room. I learned how to paint my room as a student because I went and bought I put a coat of paint in my room. I was very proud to have a beautiful cover on my bed, and I arranged my books properly. Those days we didn't even have computers, but I put my typewriter chua, 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 on my table. What I saw, I couldn't believe it. I say to the medical students, I can live with students at the main campus, dirt, but I cannot live with it, with a medical student. The cockroaches in their kitchen. You know how when you are cooking ishima, the ishima falls are on the rings, then it starts burning black. Another student comes to cook, does not, the one who cooked didn't clean, the one who comes to cook that start cooking on top of that black patch. So you have layers and layers. Oh, I can't eat that food. I told them you have a wonderful immune system. Because I would have been dead by now. So what that president was saying, you didn't mention his name, is correct. That there's something that has gone wrong. And that's why all of us should have listened attentively to the presidential address on Friday. Because the president was talking about our value systems as a people. You cannot reduce yourself to that level of debt. Then what are you going to be? University is not for training people to pass mathematics and English and engineering colleagues. It's a place for total development, because you are developing that child now for the world. When they leave there, they are going to be employed, and they'll be responsible for other people. Now, if you were not responsible as a student, what? Yesterday, I went to witness one of the things that even at night I woke up, I went to vomit when I thought about it. And I'm very serious. I was in Chainda because of the cholera epidemic. And we were followed that, come and see this house, how it stinks. The soldiers broke that door. Do you know what was inside? A woman with children and feces all over. The husband locks them up when he's going to work and has given them buckets to pee. When each bucket is full, they go and there's a bath, steel bath. That's where they pour. And they are there. I mean, if you are able to reduce yourself to that level as people, I don't know what we're about. So when the president was speaking, every single word that he said, we must take it seriously. When I'm in my constituents, by 10, the youths are drunk. What are we making of this country? Yeah? We have a serious problem on our hands. And it's so serious that all of us must rise to the occasion. And this is why for us, we feel we need to be running these short courses so that we mop up all these youths, give them training, release them to the world to be able to be setting up little businesses. But this thing of getting up, I want a job. Okay, where are your credentials? Grade 7. The only work you can do is this. No, me, I want to be a supervisor. So our ministry is very critical to changing the landscape of this country. And therefore, we have introduced the following in the university, that every university and every institution of higher learning, the college, will have what is called the career center. The career center will be the center where every student will pass through and pass. They will be taught about the values of the world. So they will be, and also how to present themselves, how to dress, how to sit for interviews, how to write proposals, interpersonal relationships with people when they are out there in the world, how you talk to adults. We can't all be adults. Someone has to be a child. But now we are all adults. You see, he's coming. That is speaking volumes about our training programs in the country. So that's where we are. And we are also going to launch a cleaning day every month where all of us will be cleaning, from the minister to the cleaner, institution by institution. And we'll be doing it the same day. It will either the first Saturday of the month or the last Saturday of the month. And me as minister and my PS and everybody, one day will be, this month we'll be cleaning with Unza, next month we'll be cleaning with Morungushi. We'll be all over the place, just to bring the culture of cleanliness back to our institutions.
Okay. Colleagues, let's stick to one question each so that we can have more people asking questions. So I'll have one from the lady here, another one from the back, and the lady just right here. Go ahead.
I'm Pandi Piri from Major Phoenix. Now that the Copperbelt University Senate has resolved that the Copperbelt University will be reopening on the 25th of March, and the lecturers have vowed that they will not report for work, I just wanted to get your comment on that. What's the way forward to that issue? Because it looks like the standoff between the Vice Chancellor and the lecturers is still going on, even when they've resolved that the Copperbelt University will be opening on the 25th of March.
From the back. Would you come in here?
Something was announced last year, that the University of Zambia was going to be split into different schools. Wanted to find out when will that happen and what benefit, what are the benefits of splitting the university. Number two, I wanted to find out whether...
Just one question, sir.
Just one question.
Thank you.
My name is Pamela Mlenga from CBC TV. The Higher Education Authority Act just got my attention, and then you said that you're committed so that you clean up just to ensure that they follow. Maybe in public universities, that would be very easy. I'm aware that as government, the private sector, education supplements government efforts. Are we going to see that you move into private universities to ensure that they implement or they are following this Higher Authority Act which you have talked about?
Okay, now the standoff between the university lecturers and the Vice Chancellor, I did touch it a little bit. My answer to this question is that there is more to that than the eyes can see. That is my answer. And I will rest it there, and I think you follow the events. The second question is the splitting of the different... We are not splitting into different schools because it already exists as schools. We are splitting it into colleges. So what will happen when we start implementing? What is the School of Medicine now? Will be the Unza College of Medicine and Health Sciences. And it will be headed by a principal. What is the School of Engineering and the School of Mines will be collapsed together, and it will be the Unza College of Engineering, Belt Sciences, Mines and Minerals. What is Agriculture and Veterinary will also be collapsed together. It will be the Unza College of Agriculture and Veterinary Sciences. What is School of Natural Sciences will be the Unza College of Natural Sciences. And what is education will be the UNZA College of Education. And what is humanities will be an UNZA College of Humanities, Social Sciences and Economics. This is the model which, when a university gets too big and unmanageable, usually that's what happens. If you go to London and Google London University, it's run on that model. The college I went to, the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, is part of that University of London. The King's College is part of London University. Imperial College is part of London University. Middlesex and University College is part of London University. But these colleges will still remain University of Zambia. They'll all be headed by a principal, and the budgets will be given to each college. But they will report to 3 deputy vice chancellors. One of the deputy vice chancellors will be responsible for academia because of all the issues that I raised earlier, to ensure that academia starts functioning the manner in which a university academic activities function. Then we'll have a deputy vice chancellor in charge of research and innovation, so that we bring back the spirit of research and innovation back to the University of Zambia. And then the 3rd deputy vice chancellor will be responsible for administration. And they will all report to the vice chancellor. The benefit is that first of all, the financial budgets will reach the intended purpose by college. Secondly, it will ignite the academic potential of our institution and will bring back the whole idea of research, because these colleges will be competing for resources. So that is the benefit. And I think we'll get more out of the University of Zambia in terms of even quality of delivery of services. So that's what's happening. At the moment, we are now working the modalities because we needed to get cabinet approval. So we are spending this year getting the modalities in place. And when we budget this year, the budgets will be exactly what I'm talking about. So that when money is released from the ministry, it's released directly to the UNZA College of Medicine. If it's released to agriculture, it goes directly to the college. And you'll see an improvement not only in the quality of services, but also in terms of igniting the staff. They will be a lot more motivated in their conduct. Now, the private universities, at the moment, there are a number of things that we are doing. We are amending the law. At the moment, the way the law is what is creating some of the challenges we are having with the private universities. So we'll be tabling the amended law to Parliament in June, so that we tie the loose ends of some of the issues that I was raising here. That you just can't get up and say, tomorrow I'm starting a university, and you don't have the prerequisites of starting a university. Neither can I just get out of my house and say, today I'm turning my house into a university. You can't. But that has to be enshrined in the law. So after the law is passed, then you see a lot of monitoring of our institutions, both public and private.
We'll take the last 3 questions.